Hi, friends.
I'm Zach.
I'm Mitch.
And this is an excellent little podcast.
Starring Zach and Mitch.
Wait, we're doing a podcast?
Zach, this is the fourth time we've done this.
Right, of course.
We are doing a podcast, and today, everyone, we are reviewing a classic film and one of my favorites, The Godfather.
Oh, The Godfather. Wait, which one?
The first one?
Oh, of course. Sorry, I forgot. There's multiple Godfathers. It's the first one from 1972, right?
That is correct. We are not reviewing the trilogy. We would like to review part 2 later on in this podcast, set of reviews, whatever you want to call it. We would rather not review part 3.
Yeah. No. Sorry if I sound new to this, because this was my first time watching The Godfather Part 1.
It is such a good movie. The reason why I chose this is because a little backstory on my Godfather times.
You were in the Mafia?
I was not in the Mafia.
Oh, okay.
I just want to tell my backstory on how much I love this movie.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Yes. So I knew about The Godfather. I knew about Marlon Brando, but I had never seen it all the way through until, I'm going to say, my senior year of high school. But before that, I had seen clips. I was told how great of a movie it was by my mom and my dad hates movies. He refuses to watch any type of movie.
Really?
Yeah, he hates them. He thinks they're terrible. So I had seen bits and pieces of it, and I was just in love with the setting. I hadn't seen enough of the movie to really get a grasp on the characters, on the story, but just the setting had me so intrigued and so sucked into that movie. Mm-hmm. So I asked for the Blu-ray set, the three movie Blu-ray set for Christmas, my senior year of high school, and my grandmother got it for me, and I watched the first movie New Year's Eve, and so the clock literally struck midnight as the movie ended, and I was just immediately I said, "This is the best fucking movie I've ever seen." And when Zach came up with the idea of, let's review our favorite movies that isn't Marvel or DC related, I had to choose The Godfather because Zach has not seen it.
No.
And Zach, your first time viewing, I would like to hear your review.
Yeah, absolutely. So, just a quick synopsis for those that have not seen The Godfather Part 1. I'll go ahead and give you a little bit of a synopsis of what exactly happens. Not everything, because we don't want to spoil everything for you.
Correct.
But what happens in The Godfather is this man named Vito Corleone. Is in charge of a crime family.
The Corleone
family. And it's one of 5 families in the New York area. Mm-hmm. After doing what he does and whatnot, another family, the Tartaglia family.
The
Tattaglia's family, yes. The Tattaglia's family reaches out to Vito and his family and says, hey, drugs are the future of organized crime.
But the thing is, Vito Corleone mostly dealt with
gambling, with women, with casinos, like things that he felt like it was easier to get away with, that the government and police would more easily look to the side on.
And Vito also had a lot of politicians at that time, because this movie was set in the late 40s, early 50s. He had a lot of the politicians in his pocket. Mm-hmm. But at the time, drugs were starting to be really popular back in the 40s and 50s. Yes. And Vito really understood that this is a very dangerous game, and he did not want him or his sons or anybody in the Corleone crime family involved.
To get into it. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. And so he says no to that family. Mm-hmm. And that family does not like that because, like how you just said, the Corleone family knows all the different contacts, has the politics in his pocket, the police in the pocket. Mm-hmm. So having the Corleone family with them, helping them with this would really help that drug business actually start. And because Vito says no, nobody really likes that. So they start an all-out, basically gang war, basically set in the 1940s. And it is so interesting and so fun. And it's on a wild ride from there. So now that we've given you the synopsis, let's go ahead and go through, I guess, my review, since this is my first time seeing it.
Yeah. Okay, Zach, here we go. I need your honest to goodness review. Period. Amen. I want to hear what you thought of The Godfather.
I will give you a review that you cannot refuse. It's so fun. I genuinely was so excited going into this movie, finally being able to see this amazing movie that I've only heard so much about, and I've seen like various clips, like, you know, the classic line, I will give him an offer you can't refuse, or take the cannolis after all this. And it was just so magical. Like, it is genuinely a piece of art and a piece of cinema that so many directors and actors look at and praise, and I totally understand why. And I also understand why not many mob movies actually get made after this, because this film is so perfect. Why try to compete? I still think people should compete with it and still try to make more mob movies. Correct. But this, if you make a mob movie, you are definitely going to be compared to The Godfather. And I have to say, there's a few things I definitely want to point out that really captured me from this movie. At first, the runtime can seem a little scary. This runs almost 3 hours. Goes by so quickly.
Yes. Yes, it does.
You really don't feel like you were sitting in a room for 3 hours. Everything goes so fast. It's another very dialogue heavy movie.
It is.
So if you miss something, you could be lost.
Yes. I remember there was a point in the movie where Zach and we were talking a little bit, and the time I had to shush you because he's not wrong. There are very crucial moments in not just the scenes or throughout the movie, crucial dialogue moments that if you miss them, you will have no idea what you just missed, and you will miss a very important part of the story.
Yeah. So I had to rewind and go back really quickly, and it was really funny, especially since there were subtitles involved.
Yeah.
So I had to, because there's a lot of Italian spoken in this movie. So I had to rewind and be like, I missed that. I need to read that. But it was so wonderful. And one of the best things that I really did love from this movie was actually the violence, but not for a very specific, but not because, oh my God, like violence, so cool, like, oh my God, I'm macho. No, not that. How they use the violence to turn the story. There are multiple times where you know something is going to happen.
Right.
But you don't know when.
And you don't know how it's going to happen.
And you don't know how it's going to happen.
Right.
And all of a sudden, it happens.
Yeah.
And it goes. And you're just sitting there. And it is probably, to me, one of the most accurate depictions of gun violence, of mob mentality in cinema.
Right.
It goes so quickly. Things spiral really quickly. And when these big violent episodes happen, they're not glorified.
No.
And they're dirty. And they just happen. And you really just sit there, and even the characters are there going, oh my God.
Yeah.
We just killed somebody or multiple people, and it takes an impact on each and every character when it happens.
So I before we continue on with your review, my favorite moment has to deal with this violence. There is a very important character.
Yeah, we'll get to the favorite moments, but let me go ahead and finish my review, then we can get to your review, and then we'll get to our favorite moments.
Fine.
Promise? Pinky promise?
Fine. I'm going to go cry in a corner now.
No, I'm almost done with my review. I do promise. Well, so...
After I interrupted him, please continue, Zach.
No, we're good. We're good. Don't worry. So the glorification of gun violence is really not all there, but the violence itself, you can't do a mob movie without violence. But when I tell you the absolute standout of these movies are two men who have been praised for their performances in many things, this is their best performance in any of them. And that's both Al Pacino as Michael and Marlon Brando as Vito Corleone. Mm-hmm. Oh my God. Like, I love both of those actors in multiple things. This takes a cake in anything that they've done. The amount of acting that each of them do, the amount of subtleness that they do. This is an expert acting. This is an expert acting movie. If anybody wants to act for film, this is the movie to watch it, especially Al Pacino and Marlon Brando, because every look, every glance, every movement in their facial features or in their eyes is perfect. And that also comes down to Francis Ford Coppola's really wonderful directing and really wonderful. The cinematography was perfect. Every single cut, edit, wonderful, masterclass. This movie, I feel like, was literally made for film schools because it is the masterclass of how to continue moving your story forward. And yes, there were low moments. There are moments where the film goes slow, but not in a bad way. It's to break up all of the density that sometimes happens and all of the fervor that when things start going down, you kind of need those slow, lower moments to breathe and understand what's going on, only to jump right back into it very quickly. So yeah, that is my review. Mitch, you're the one that brought this movie even to the table for me. What's your review of this movie?
Well, is that a thank you, Zach, for bringing this to the table for you? Or is that just...
I will say thank you. You are wonderful for bringing this movie up and letting me watch it on my nice big screen TV.
You are welcome, as we shake hands. So my review on this movie, what hasn't been said about this movie? Zach literally said everything about this movie, which makes it so good. But he also missed a few things.
How dare you? I'm sorry. You're the expert. What did I miss? What would you like to say?
So there was one little there's a few things about this movie that I'm sure he wanted to talk about, but it either slipped his mind or he just didn't care. I don't know, but I'm kidding.
There's very few things I care about. Cannolis being one of them.
Yeah, cannolis.
But and Prego, a lot of Prego sauce. Sorry, every single time that I heard the word Prego in this movie, I just thought pasta sauce. And Prego is an Italian word. It is you're welcome. But every single time it came up, as people would say, thank you,
Prego.
and then the response would be Prego. So I would just go, thank you, pasta sauce.
Bene. There's one thing that he didn't mention was the script by Mario Puzo. The script was written by Mario Puzo, who also wrote the book, The Godfather.
Really?
The Godfather is based on a book by Mario Puzo. Same title, set in the same time frame, but also this movie was made 3 years after the book was written. Mario Puzo was a very famous writer at the time, and when he announced he was writing a book like this, film studios galore was at his doorstep.
Really?
Because they just knew that whatever he was going to write, they wanted to make. So Paramount was on his door front doorstep. And they got it made. As he was writing the book, he was also writing the screenplay. And the thing about this screenplay, which really just sets it aside from other films, it's not just the amount of dialogue, it's the amount of, there's little space. There's so much going on. There's so much detail that, again, you mentioned, if you miss any little detail, the movie's going to be ruined.
Yeah.
Let's say there's a few details, like if just one little thing, if he decided, oh, that's not important, I'm going to throw that out, it needed to happen. Every little detail was so crucial to the plot and to the characters. It was just a mind-boggling script. Yeah. And that's where the perfection of this movie started, was in Mario Puzo's script.
That is so cool. There are so few movies where the book writer actually writes the screenplay as well. Mm-hmm. And now I almost really want to read that book just to see where, like, how it differs, just because I want to see how much, because the book can only go more in depth.
Well, I will say it's almost, it's not a shot for shot.
Okay.
But it is so close to the film. Uh-huh. You literally, like, I read the book, I watched the movie, read the book, and then I watched the movie again. Uh-huh. And it literally felt like, as I was watching the movie a second time, I thought I was literally watching the book, because it was almost just a perfect rendition. Uh-huh. So again, the Mario Puzo script, just, I can't say more. I really can't, because it's just such a perfect definition of a good script. And another thing that you mentioned about, I don't want to say miss, but that I have to mention.
Gotcha.
It's not just the performances of Al Pacino and Marlon Brando. Mm-hmm. It is also the performances of James Caan as Sonny Corleone, the eldest Corleone son.
Okay.
Robert Duvall as Tom Hagen.
Oh my God, I forgot about Robert Duvall. You're right. Oh my God, that was such a great performance, and I totally forgot to put him in my review.
How dare you forget about Robert Duvall? But again, it's not just those two. It's the supporting cast. You have James Caan, Robert Duvall, Diane Keaton, even though she could have been a lot better, but I'm not dissing her at all. You have Talia Shire as Connie. You have John Cazale as Frito, another Corleone son. Just an all-around perfect cast. No bad performances given.
No.
There really wasn't.
And the only reason why you brought up Diane Keaton, and you told me, like throughout the film, like, it's not that her performance is bad. Mm-hmm. It's not. It's still a very solid performance.
Correct.
It's just when surrounded by all this talent and all this cast, she just happens to be one of the ones that doesn't shine as well. Mm-hmm. But she still shines.
Right. Well, there's also Gianni Russo.
Oh, uh-huh.
His performance, even though you hated Carlo. Mm-hmm. And we will get to that later on.
Yeah.
You don't have an actor like that playing such a nasty individual as well as he was portrayed in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Because that just goes to show you, and you mentioned, but Francis Ford Coppola's just perfect casting and perfect directing. And another thing that we also talked about in a little bit in the movie, going back to his directing skills, Francis Ford Coppola's directing skills, Al Pacino is not a tall person. No. Al Pacino is 5'6".
He is short.
But he the way that they shot him made him look like 10 feet tall and so physically demanding later on in the film.
Yeah.
And another thing, and I'll complete this review and then we can discuss more of it, because I can tell we're both so excited to keep talking about this movie.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
The start, you know how in Casablanca and other big movies, the main character has a hero's journey?
Yeah.
You know, he's this kind of person. Something terrible happens or something good happens and he goes on that hero's journey.
Yep.
That is the complete opposite of what happens to Michael Corleone. He comes to New York
Yep.
for his sister's wedding.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
As a hero, as a war hero.
Yeah.
And the movie starts to show him just dwindle down the path of crime and mob force. And he literally goes from hero to, dare I say, the villain of this story.
Yeah. And it's really interesting too, because this war hero, even this Vito Corleone,
His father.
his father literally does not want him to be in the family business. He wants him to be distant. He wants him to be like a governor or something that's not in the crime related business.
Maybe a president.
A president. And Michael, when what happens in the movie happens, he just takes it personally. And to be honest, if I was in the same spot, I probably would too. So because what happens, he takes it so personally, it's a slippery slope. He keeps going down, and with every single move, he keeps on turning and turning and turning, and he eventually ends up in the spot he ends up in at the finale of the film.
So to conclude my review, I have to agree with Zach. This movie is darn near perfect. I have to give it such a great score, which you will hear about later on in the episode.
Yep.
So, with that being said, in Casablanca, we each chose our favorite moment of the film, which I prematurely mentioned it during his review. I apologize.
No,
advance.
you are fine.
It's not fine.
You were really excited.
I was. So I'm going to ask you, Zach.
Yeah.
To give me 2 standout moments in this movie, and I will give mine.
Okay, absolutely. So, my 2 standout moments of this film.
And we'll let you know there may be a few spoilers here.
Oh, there's 100% going to be spoilers for mine. My first one, which has still standed out to me even after taking a little bit of time and wrestling with this film. My first standout moment is when Vito Corleone is basically put a hit on him. And it comes not out of nowhere, because the second he said, I'm gonna go get some vegetables, I was like, oh.
It was fruit.
Oh, you're right, fruit. You're right, it was fruit. After he said that he was gonna go get some fruit, I was like, oh, he's deviating from the path. Here we go. But that's the thing. He deviated the path for like just a little bit, and then all of a sudden, here they come. Step up, shot, and you go. Like, it's quick. So you really don't have to process anything before it's all of a sudden, bam, it happens. He's shot 2, 3, 4 times, and this man is bleeding on the car, and his poor youngest son Fredo is like, oh my god, ah! And like he's freaking out. And that is really your first bit of actual violence that you see on screen.
Right.
You do see a little bit of aftermath of violence before that, which I won't mention, but it's basically how the mob basically struck fear into people. It was a fear tactic that they used, and it's really well done. But my second moment is really spoilery because it basically goes into it. It's again another hit moment. It's when Michael makes the decision after Vito has died and he is officially 100% the head of the family now. He knows that he has a target on his back. He absolutely knows it. And before his father died, basically like the last words Vito says to Michael is, whoever comes to you to come in peace and talk in peace.
With Barzini and the Tattaglias and the other crime families.
Yep. That is going to be your traitor. So at Vito's funeral, Tessio is the one that comes up to him. And I even said during the movie, oh my God, I thought it was going to be Clemenza.
Well, I think another Tom Hagen even mentioned to Michael during the funeral, like, I thought it would, I'm shocked that it's Tessios. I thought it was going to be Clemenza. But it speaks to the character of Al Pacino and how intelligent he is, or Michael Corleone, how intelligent he is, because he knew it was going to be Tessio. He knew it. He knew it.
He knew. And then the moment that my number 2 moment that stands out to me in this film is definitely when Michael makes the call of, okay, a target's on my back, I'm going to strike first. And he basically goes after all 5 heads of the crime families in one fell swoop.
While he
is literally about to be assassinated. All of them get assassinated first.
But he's also at the baptism of his nephew.
And it's just so well done. Yeah. Every single one, again, was done very brutally, with purpose.
Right.
And it was just really all well done, brutal, honest, and different in each way. Because, it's not like they lined them up and just, all right, bam, dead. No, they were each in different locations. Whoever was sent to assassinate them assassinated them in different ways.
Right.
And it just was brutal and totally made sense and was the final, to me, mark in Michael's story that officially made him, okay, I am Michael Corleone, now Don Corleone. This is me. That was his first major decision, and what brought him. A lot of people would say that would be when he does the final act of the movie,
right,
that makes him the true Don and makes him Michael. To me, that's ancillary. That was something that should have happened a while ago, but certain circumstances otherwise killed. Prolonged that outcome to happen, but that was an outcome that was going to happen, whether or not Michael was the Don or not. That situation was just prolonged because of the certain person that was going to carry it out fell under other circumstances. But yeah, those are my 2 moments. What about you, Mitch? What are your 2 favorite moments of this movie?
So you actually stole one of mine, but
okay,
which is fine. I also I had a backup plan.
Yep.
I have 2 moments. One is at the beginning of the movie, and one is near the start of the 3rd act.
You can still use that second one that I stole.
I've already chosen one, Zach.
You got this. I believe in you.
Thank you. As I was saying, the first moment for me that really, it kind of sealed you in to the movie was when Tom Hagen goes to California to help out with Johnny Fontaine. And Johnny Fontaine, a little backstory on him, he is Vito Corleone's godson. He is a famous singer, actor, performer, kind of more like a Frank Sinatra type of person who has lost his voice. But he needs to be in this Western film that's going to be a hit. And he thinks he's going to win an Oscar. And in the book, he actually wins an Oscar for it.
Solid.
But he can't be in this movie because a famous head of a studio won't allow him to be in the film because of just the way he is, how he is nice to women, how he's just your prototypical good film star.
Sure.
So Tom Hagen, acting as Canzoniere, as what he is, he goes to California and asks this big hotshot studio head to allow Johnny Fontaine to be in this movie. But he is literally thrown out of the house. So Tom Hagen then proceeds to say, okay, I will leave. Because the Don Corleone wants to hear bad news immediately. I'm going to get on a plane. And this whole time, Zach literally is saying, you should have called. You could have made a phone call. And the whole time, I'm like, oh, just wait. And the moment I'm speaking of is the next morning after Tom Hagen is forced out. So during this meeting, they walk around this head honcho's house, and they see he has horses, he has animals, and the next morning, he wakes up with blood in his bed. And it's not just like, oh, just a small little dab. It's a lot. It's a lot. And immediately when I first watched this movie, I'm like, oh, so there's like he is cut or something like that. But I'm thinking, wait a minute, that's not his blood. And that's a lot of blood for not being his blood.
Yeah.
And he rips open the blankets, and all of a sudden you see a horse's head in the bed. And that just goes to show you how far Don Corleone would be willing to go to get what he wanted and to grant Johnny Fontaine's favor to allowing him to be in that film.
Yeah.
Even though I respect Vito Corleone way more than I do Michael Corleone.
Oh, yeah.
Vito Corleone was still ruthless.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and you saw that, how ruthless he was way early in the movie. When you see this dead horse's head in the bed, it is just... that you can't go wrong with that moment.
No,
And the second moment for me at the beginning of the third act was not just a violent picture, but also a very sad picture. Is when, so Sonny Corleone is the head of the crime family, while after Vito Corleone is attempted to be assassinated. He is sitting upstairs in the house in bed. He can't really do much because he's still recovering.
Yeah.
However, the sister, the only daughter of Vito Corleone, I can't think of her name. I think it was Connie.
Yeah, Connie.
She is pregnant with her husband's child, Carlo. But Carlo is very abusive. And early in the movie, Sonny warns Carlo, like, if you touch my sister again, I'll kill you. Well, it happens again, and it's way worse. Carlo is very violent and is very abusive towards Connie, so Connie calls Sonny to let him know, hey, he's doing this again. Basically can't even tell him because she's in that much pain and is crying.
Yep.
So Sonny has a very, very bad temper, played beautifully by James Caan. He gets into his car and starts to drive over there to knock some sense into him. But he has to pay a toll. He stops to pay the toll. The car in front of him backs up a little bit, and right away you know something's about to go down.
Yep.
And what goes down is that Sonny Corleone is gunned down.
Yeah.
And it's one of the worst / best shootout scenes you'll ever witness.
100%.
And Sonny, you know right away with how many bullets he takes, he is immediately dead. There's nothing. So Vito then decides, like, I need to do something about this. And the moment that I want to discuss is when he takes the body of Sonny to the funeral parlor. And he shows the funeral director and asks him to clean him up, have him ready for his funeral. And he's looking at the body of his son. And he's basically saying, look how they massacred my boy. And he's literally crying. And that's such the subtle sadness in Vito. And it's not just about him looking at his dead son. Michael had not returned yet.
No.
So it was almost like, not only have they killed my son, but what's been going on is I can't even see my youngest son, because if he comes back, he'll be killed. And now I have to deal with my oldest son being dead in front of me, so brutally massacred. That was and it was just proven how beautiful of a performance Marlon Brando gave.
Yeah.
And it was just that moment for me. It seals the deal with how great of a movie it is.
Yeah. No. And the thing is that for that funeral parlor owner,
yeah,
that deal is struck right at the beginning of the movie.
Right.
So as somebody who has known like mob movies and whatnot, I'm thinking like, oh, he's going to have to kill a man. He's going to have to do something absolutely terrible. No, all he was asked was just to do his job. Just do a genuine favor of cleaning up his son.
Even though he was so brutally, I mean, just...
It's hard to look at your son like that. And he is like riveted with bullets, like identifiable, but barely.
Yeah.
Barely identifiable.
It gets a little graphic.
Yeah, but the dude is barely identifiable, so it is definitely a big favor.
Yeah.
To ask of somebody to make them look open casket presentable in that state.
Correct.
But oh my God, what a very twist of a favor that you would think would be coming. Because again, I genuinely thought like he was gonna have to, like, that guy, in order to return the favor for what he did, what Vito did for him, I thought he was gonna have to kill a dude. I thought he was gonna have to do something illegal. No. Just do his job.
Just make my son presentable for the funeral.
Yeah.
So we've given our moments. We've given our reviews.
Out of curiosity, what was the other moment that you were talking about and alluding to that you wanted to talk about? You don't have to go into detail about it, but what was your other moment?
It was the moment where Michael is at the baptism of his nephew.
Ah, gotcha.
Because it just goes to show you how evil Michael Corleone is. And he literally went from a hero, a war hero, to somebody who gives orders to kill.
Yeah, no, it's such a great moment. But yeah, so I guess without further ado,
my apologies for the phone dinging.
No, you're good. You're good. So without further ado, I think we should give our rating for The Godfather Part 1.
Well, Zach, what is your rating?
My rating is, again, normally really rare. It's normally not going to happen, but we just happened to do this twice in a row. It's a clean plate. It has to be a clean plate.
Mine is also a clean plate. This movie, we literally would spend 3 or 4 hours discussing this movie.
Oh, absolutely. It's just... there's so much to go into, where opposed to Casablanca, which is probably going to be our other clean plate that already did happen. And we probably won't see another clean plate for a very long time.
Probably not.
As opposed to Casablanca, where it's a lot crammed into a short amount of time.
This is
a lot crammed into a very big amount of time.
Right.
But done so masterfully that you genuinely are never bored with the movie.
No.
You keep on moving. It turns well. It twists well. The dialogue is always snappy. You always cut to the right characters at the right time. You always are intrigued about what this character is going to do next.
Right.
And you pray to God they don't react how you think they will. And then sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. And it's just a wild ride from start to finish, all under the cool, wonderful demeanors of the mob.
And all thanks to just great performances by all actors.
All involved.
Yes. Al Pacino, Marlon Brando, Robert Duvall, James Caan, and just the stellar script of Mario Puzo, the great directing of Francis Ford Coppola. That is somebody that I'm a little disappointed that he has stopped directing. I wish he would do just one more little thing, because I know he's really stopped since, because I know he made Dracula and he hasn't really done much since then.
I think it's honestly just because after making like one of the best films in history.
Well, then he made Apocalypse Now.
Yeah.
And that's a good movie.
Again, another really wonderful movie. But after making so many like wonderful movies, he's earned his due.
Yeah, he's earned his retirement.
he's done it, and I feel like he almost is just like, you know what, I did it. I did what I wanted to do creatively.
Right.
He probably has enough on his plate, like in terms of money, that he could probably swim in it, and he's probably living a great retirement right now.
Well, I know his daughter Sophia is a very good director. She does a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it looks like right now he's been executive producer for a whole lot of movies, and a whole lot of shows. Let's see, what was the last thing he directed, out of curiosity?
I think it was Dracula. Let's see. But we're looking at that now.
Director
he is directing.
Oh, he has been directing. It looks like the last thing that he's it's coming out is Megapolis. I don't know about that.
That's something.
An architect wants to rebuild New York City as a utopia following a devastating disaster.
Ooh.
Interesting. With Zendaya, Cate Blanchett, and Oscar Isaac? Sign me up.
I know. But again, this movie, I cannot stress this enough. If you are a film fan, you have to watch The Godfather.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's on streaming, the 50th anniversary, that's coming up in the next couple days. If you need to see in 4K in a movie theater, I highly recommend it.
Highly recommend seeing this in a movie theater if you have the chance.
This movie is just a beautiful, beautiful, not just movie, but it's a beautiful piece of art. Mm-hmm. And it's all thanks to just everybody involved in this movie.
100%. And that's not just everyone that you see in front of the camera.
That's behind the camera.
That's behind the camera. That's set designers. That's costumers. That's your special effects artists.
Your makeup.
Your makeup. Oh, my God. Doing realistic makeup is very, very hard to do, but especially for a mob movie where you have to bloody people up to no end and make it bloody and make it all and basically look in one shot, which, oh my God, for a movie that was made in 1972,
50 years ago,
there are movies today where there are some action shots where you can see where they splice the two frames to go from one shot to the other. There are so many of those shots in this movie where you basically see a headshot and you do not see a cut.
Right.
It is bam, you see it, and it goes. There is no cut in the film whatsoever. Right. So practically, oh my gosh, really wonderfully done. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we could continue gushing on this all day.
I really can't. I can't stress this enough. People need to see this movie.
Yes.
It's such a great movie. I will say this: there are a few scenes that can get a little queasy at times.
Yes.
Especially, I mentioned there's a lot of abuse scenes. Mm-hmm. So if you are more than welcome to fast forward.
They even also, unfortunately, let out a very derogatory term in one of the scenes.
Mm-hmm. Voiced by Sonny.
It caught me off guard because
I completely forgot it was in the movie.
But it's a blink in your moment done, and it's a signal of times that have changed.
Yes.
The fact that we will, because back in that time, yes, that language would be used, but
now that's not okay.
Now it's not okay.
However, the movie makes up with those kind of queasy moments with just pure greatness.
Yes.
I can't stress this enough. I'm just glad I mentioned it to you,
No,
Zach.
And I'm so glad you did. That way I finally got to see The Godfather Part 1, and I'm so excited. I just cannot wait to see The Godfather Part 2, and a little less excited to see The Godfather Part 3 because I hear it just really, really goes down after that. But
let's talk about what's next.
Yeah, what is going to be next?
Well, we're going to take a little short break in between episodes.
Yep.
We have been doing a lot of episodes, and there really isn't nothing coming out until one of my top 10 picks.
Yeah.
It's Uncharted.
Uncharted's coming out pretty soon.
Well, and then right after that, one of your top 10s.
Yeah, my number 2, Cyrano, is coming out at the end of February.
So there is content coming.
Yes.
We just ask for
your patience and your wonderful support. Mm-hmm. But also in the interim, we would love to hear from you what you guys would love to hear from us.
Yes. If you want to hear a top 10, if you want to hear a top 5, if you want to hear a Godfather Part 2 review, I don't know why you would want a Godfather Part 3 review, but if you want it, we'll do it.
We'll do it. We'll torture ourselves, but we'll torture ourselves for you.
Mm-hmm. But the main up-and-coming movie that we will be doing is Uncharted, followed by Cyrano, followed by the big one in March.
The Batman.
The Batman.
Oh gosh, it's gonna be so great.
I love it how we're the movie is about a month away and we're already talking about it.
It's getting closer, ladies and gentlemen. We are getting so close to it. We're gonna have to dress up all nice in nice suits and nice ties. I'll bring my James Bond suit. You can bring your Batman suit worn by Val Kilmer. You could do anything.
Yes, but in order to ask us what you want us to do, feel free to reach out to us at Zach. Where's our stuff at?
Oh, our stuff. Oh, absolutely. So you can actually contact us via email at elpodcastmz@gmail.com. Again, that's elpodcastsmz@gmail.com.
Or you can follow our podcast on Instagram. It is at elpodcastmz. That is at Instagram. Or you can also follow me on Instagram. It's just at Mitch Fesser at Instagram, whatever the handle is. I don't know.
Yep.
But my handle is at all lowercase Mitch Fesser.
And my handle is I can't handle anything of life. So I do have an Instagram. I'm just out of touch with the times.
Zach is the one that is the email guy. I'm the social media guy. So
you got it. I believe in you.
I believe in you more.
Well, you know what? I think I'm hungry for some cannolis.
You had cannolis while we watched the movie.
You're right.
Do you want some more?
I want some more. I want some more cannolis. Some Prego sauce.
Or some pasta.
Or some pasta.
Or some pizza.
Or some pizza. Just
something Italian.
Something Italian. I don't want any chunky marinara sauce though. There was a lot of brain matter in that movie. And
Zach, I think it's time for us to go.
I think it's time for us to go.
Well, thank you so much for listening in. But until next time, I'm Mitch.
I'm Zach.
And this is
An Excellent Little Podcast.